So I have this long-running stupid joke that I do sometimes where I bring the mic really close and put on my NPR voice and say, "So you've got a new book coming out. Tell us about it." But I get to kind of do that for real this time because you said you are writing a book.
I am, yes, in the very
I won't
early
subject you to
stages.
the voice, but
Yeah, well, it's something I've wanted to do for probably a decade, and I'm finally gonna put myself out of my misery and just do it. Just get it done. My
yeah,
husband's tired of hearing me tell him constantly, like, "Why isn't there a book about this? Someone needs to write a book about this." So that's what I'm gonna do, and the book is on using projective techniques in UX research.
okay, cool. Can you talk about it or do you need to hold that
Sure.
stuff? All right. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
hi, I'm Matthew. I'm new to UX research. What's a projective technique?
Okay, a great question. A
Thanks.
good place to start, and a
Thank you
common
for
question.
complimenting me. Yeah.
So a projective technique, really, it's about encouraging participants to project their feelings. It could be assumptions, narratives, really about something that they might not be able to express directly. And you sit down with a clipboard of predefined questions and you want to ask questions, but oftentimes what we want to learn really exists beneath the participant's own level of awareness. So a technique is really considered to be projective if you present a participant with some kind of ambiguous stimuli. It could be anything: pictures, music, words, anything at all. And you're asking them to do a little work where they're going to either interpret it, complete it, react to it in some way, and project their own unconscious, feelings, thoughts, motivations, attitudes about something. And this is something that we all do, right? Typically in our normal life, every day we are reacting to stimuli. It could be art, could be music, could be something someone said. And what's triggering for one person may be completely benign to another person. Just they have no reaction to it. So it's very personal. And I really love that because you never know what you're going to get, what's going to not necessarily trigger someone in a bad way, but I find these techniques to be extremely effective just to get people to feel, to react, to open them up, to get them to talk. And really, I think as researchers, that's one of the hardest things we're tasked with is just to sit down with complete strangers, get them to open up to us and just start talking.
Right. Right. Kind of like this, because I don't think we've met before,
Mhm.
have we?
No, we've never met
Okay.
before,
Yeah.
and I've seen your
Yeah.
name a bunch over the years. We've both been in the industry for decades, and no, it's good to finally meet.
Yeah. Uh, Forgot to do the human stuff first, right? That's on me.
It's all good.
I thought of sort of two, what do I want to say? Welcome to the UX Matto show where Matthew's command of the English language diminishes the moment he tries to think and speak at the same time. I'll make it simple. Don't overthink it. When to use it, and then how to synthesize it.
Mm. Yeah, yeah. Wait.
Because, like, going back to what you just said a moment ago, like, person A, person B might have complete different reactions, even if the task is draw a map of whatever.
Yeah, no, great question. So with when to use it, I find it highly effective when you need to talk to people about something that's hard to get them to open up about, especially to someone they don't know. It could be highly sensitive topics. I've done exercises that are projective with people about their health concerns. I've talked to women about their menstrual cycles, things like that. It's like, hey, tell me all about this personal stuff. Something that's taboo, that's politics. It's been great to use in that regard. But I've also, on the flip side, done it on very just, topics that anybody can talk about. I've worked with the Pennsylvania Department of Transportation and had to do a study on how people felt about their commutes. And we used a projective technique to get them talking about that, which was really fun. I did not need necessarily to use a projective technique for that. I could have simply asked it. But it's an activity. For that one, we used one of my favorite projective techniques, which is collaging or collage building. And we
Hmm.
simply have a participant sit down, look at a whole bunch of different random images, the 300 images in a pool. There's no themes in them or anything like that, and have them pick out images that reflect their experience with a product, a service, anything at all, and then write a little caption as to why they chose that image. And building that collage, it's a fun activity. It gets them using their hands, which I think just unlocks different things in their brain, gets them thinking in a different way, and it takes them right back to childhood. And then they have this thing that they're kind of proud of, and they're like, okay, tell me about it, and let's just talk about it. And it's just a great way to just kick off a conversation. And I think that it's nice because it's participant led. So I'm not the one predetermining the outcome of
Yeah.
the interview. It can go anywhere. And I just love that. And they're leading it. So oftentimes, if you are using it for sensitive information, uh, sometimes they can be so effective where they're easily talking about something with a complete stranger and you can see them almost like, do I really want to go here? And you have to check in with them because I think sometimes I often say they can open up a door rather easily and walk through it and they're not so sure they really want to yet.
Yeah.
So you kind of have to be careful with that. But it can be used in either case, whether it's really sensitive information or not. But you mentioned one of the hardest things, I think, with qualitative research in general is just analysis. You don't know what you're going to learn. And in that regard, it's not an easy thing to conduct analysis on. But your end goal is the same. What is someone's pain point with X? What are their unmet
Hmm.
needs? What are those unconscious desires, needs, motivations that we're trying to get to? And if done well, you probably will get to that. It might be harder to get themes because people are so individual, depending on
Hmm.
how many people you talk to, how it's segmented or not. You may or may not get there to the point of theming it, but you will no doubt get good data, I think, from it. But it's hard to get to the numbers, and sometimes people want numbers, which we
Yeah.
often have to explain is not the goal of qualitative research.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I talked to somebody recently and I brought up there usually isn't budget for numbers. It's like
Mhm.
if you want that p value, then you're going to talk to 1,053 people, right? No,
It's
you don't have
impossible.
budget for that? Okay.
Yeah.
Then five is fine. Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
I mean, or whatever number you are going for. But yeah, so what I'm hearing, and correct me if I'm getting it wrong, is this is a generative technique, not an evaluative one, or could it be
It
evaluative?
There are different projective techniques for evaluative. For instance, you could do emotional mapping. So, as somebody's going
Okay.
through an experience using a product, trying to accomplish a task, simple usability test, sometimes I like to do mini screenshots of the flow and like on a Miro board, and I'll have this array of emojis next to it and just have them drag and drop. How did you feel at each point? If it's not obvious, sometimes as they're going through it, verbalizing it beautifully,
Right.
it's not needed. Sometimes it gets them to look a little closer at it, or they pick an emoji or put a caption on it, almost like they would with a collage, that really sparks a deeper conversation. So if there's a particular area that the product managers, the designers, the developers are really like, what are they really thinking here? I can probe a little bit further in a fun way, because
Mm-hmm.
everybody likes reacting to the emojis. So that's one way you could use it for
Right.
evaluative.
So, okay. Sorry, I get a little nerdy excited here. One,
Hmm.
I truly hope you're including the poop emoji.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh, yeah.
and and two, when you do that in an evaluative setting, are you doing that aspect of the exercise step by step?
Yeah. At the end.
You're waiting until the end and then
Yeah, I
okay.
really love to try, if possible, to take that fly on the wall approach where I try not to interrupt them as little as possible as they're going through it and possibly interjecting with a probe here and there, but then having them go back and I'd like to, now that you've gone through it, let's go back a few screens. I just wanted to ask you some more questions here, or let's look at the whole flow and just get some reaction to what you thought from start to finish.
All right. So techniques fitting in generative, evaluative, where where do you feel like you get the most value out of it?
Yeah, there's a lot of benefits to using projective techniques. Really, people just aren't good about talking about their feelings and self-reporting behavior. We all know that can be distorted. But really just getting people to open up and to talk. These exercises that we're having participants do with these techniques really they become conversation starters, right? Uh, it whatever they create or whatever they're reacting to, it kickstarts a whole discussion. So that's really where the benefit is. If I sit down with the direct questions that I want to ask them, if I say, do you find that confusing? They could say, not really. It's like, all right, was that helpful? Did that really get to it? No. But if I say something, maybe using a metaphor projective technique, like if this app were a coworker, what kind would it be? And they say something like, oh, it would be like the micromanaging nightmare. Okay, let's talk a little bit more about that. That opens up kind of a whole can of worms there, a whole nother line of questioning that we could go down. But I think we assume that we can just ask anything about someone's experience and that they will actually have an answer. Oftentimes, they don't even know. They have no
Yeah.
clue really how they feel about it. And if they do, sometimes they have a very hard time articulating it and finding the vocabulary for it until they have something to react to. So that's why I think these techniques have been used for hundreds of years with going back to Young, Freudian, when we were trying to figure out people's personalities and trying to get people to or trying to assess people's personalities. That's where they've been used for a long time. We've used
Mm-hmm.
them in marketing, business leadership, all sorts of facets, ethnography, anthropology for sure. Just different industries have used projective techniques. And it's always surprised me how it's right there. It's right there in the market research world, which we borrow from a lot in UX research. And yet it is just so underutilized. And I was first introduced to it by another researcher in, I think it was 2006 or 7. And he introduced collaging to me, and that just lit me up. I was like, this is amazing. And I didn't realize how much more you could get out of someone if you didn't have this list of questions and just kind of let it flow and through an exercise. And I've always been surprised that I'm like, well, someone's going to write about this. Someone's going to do some more research here and it'll get around. Nobody does. Nobody, no, I never find any material on it. So I started speaking about it a lot in 2011. I think I gave my first talk and workshop on it and just kept talking about it. But I always kept saying, like, I just don't know why someone doesn't write about this. And so I'm like, well,
Mm-hmm.
I'll do it.
Good. I'm glad you're doing it.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks.
Yeah. It's funny because I think, beyond the high level descriptors of some of the methods that get used in research, like generative and evaluative, I think when I first started, and maybe this is just I have a terrible memory, but I don't feel like we had a lot of names for things. And so I've always thought of it as just stuff that I can do if I need to do it. And I remember we were trying to make a point about the website and how it was organized, because everything was organized around the lines of business. Everything was separated. So we had people draw maps or I presented it as a map, like a site map, but like they could really draw anything they wanted of like, what is this company? How do you think of this company? And it was just almost everybody was just this blob with, like, here's some stuff. And the company was just so very focused on like, we're this, separate. And from a legal standpoint, sure. But from the people who were using the website, like they didn't make that distinction. And it was, again, it's like from your description, I would describe that as a projective technique. It's also like dipping its toes into mental model, which, there's no, I've had this discussion many, many times. And I find like we have all these methods and tools available to us. I find myself using the same select few mostly, but I think, to your point at the top, like when you get into sensitive areas, when you get into especially moments where people say like, oh, I hadn't really thought about it before. And then they sit there silently thinking, hopefully, as opposed to, when do I get my check?
You're right.
I feel like projective techniques are something that you could use both ad hoc in moments like that. Like, and this just for the newbies and the people who've been doing it for a while who disagree with me, a discussion guide is a guide. It's not a script. Just throwing that out there. You can deviate from it. It's okay. There are times when you need to deviate from your discussion to do something a bit different to engage with your participant. And I feel like being prepared to do a projective technique in just a qualitative interview setting is appropriate, and also doing them very purposefully, of course.
Yeah, absolutely. No, what you said reminded me, I didn't even explain really how many different types of projective techniques there are. And there are so many that are right there at our fingertips that we can just throw in ad hoc, like you said, when needed. And I think one of the best are doing some kind of word association, sentence completion techniques are great. You could just simply ask someone, using this app makes me feel, and have them fill in the blank. Or when I have to switch devices to do this task, I feel X, or the first word that comes to mind when you realize you have to use X is what? It just throwing that and gets participants thinking a little differently. And it can really be, I think, surprising too. Uh, but the different techniques that there are different categories, right? So there's the association techniques like word association. Image association would be like collaging, picking out an image that represents how you feel, or a word. Product reaction cards are great. I like to have them kind of in my back pocket. Sometimes it just is a great way to just show them a list of words and, how did using this device, app, whatever, make you feel, pick out the words and go from there. The sentence completion, there's story completion, there's dialogue completion, where you get to actually, you could have a little exercise where you have speech bubbles that are blank, have them fill it in. There's the construction techniques, like you can have them create their own journey map of how they think from memory, their step-by-step
Yeah.
processes. Storyboard creation. There's a technique that's been used for a very long time, definitely in market research, not used as widely in UX, but I think it's fascinating. The Lego serious play method. And this is interesting because you actually have people play with Legos and build these metaphorical Lego models, and just expressing how they feel about something. And that can seem a little bit deep for sometimes the UX research that we're doing, but oftentimes you can find, if you get creative, you can really get to some deeper things that you're trying for. It's all just dependent on what you want to learn and what you want to get out of it. But one we've used a lot is product love and breakup letters, and creating a UX graveyard or eulogy exercise if you are not in love with the product, and or if you are in love with it and all of a sudden it's no longer available to you, write a eulogy for that. And it's wild what you can learn from that kind of exercise. It's always fun too
Oh,
to
yeah.
share.
That's interesting. Yeah.
Mhm.
So speaking of sharing, what type this this is a leading question. I'm going to go for it. What type of resistance do you get from clients, stakeholders to doing these types of activities?
I used to get a lot more than I do now, and I'll explain why. But traditionally, it's we we don't we don't want to get to the mushy stuff. We want to, like, where do we put the button? This isn't the kind of
Yeah.
data that's
Yeah.
going to tell you where to put the button or how it should look or anything like that. Of course, we understand this, that this kind of data is all about, should you even have the button or the product to begin with? So it's much more foundational in that regard. If you are trying to convince stakeholders why they need this, that's the wrong angle. It should be obvious. We need to first pick the research method that fits their needs, not vice versa.
For
So
sure.
yeah,
Yeah.
and that's just oftentimes when I was first starting out, I would almost like, I guess you could say, ask for permission, which is not the way to go about it either. Just coming at it from, just, if you want to learn this, this is the best way to go about it. And this is the reason why. Now, really, the pushback that I get is more about time. These are time intensive. So if you have an hour with a participant, you can spend the first 20 minutes doing a collaging exercise or something like that. But that's 20 minutes gone, and the time goes by so quick, and every minute with a
Yeah.
participant is crucial chance to learn something. So you can leave them as time fillers, or if you're going to build them to the interview, sometimes it has to go an hour and a half, which is hard. And I know that makes it a more expensive and longer project, but that's usually the biggest pushback I get on it. But oftentimes what you see is the richness of the data that comes back. Usually they really get hooked after they see it. And what we'll do sometimes is a homework assignment for the participants. So if we have an hour with the participant, we perhaps will pay them just a little extra to spend 20 minutes or a half hour on building a collage, reacting to something in another way, like whatever it may be, writing that product breakup letter or love letter, and then use that as a basis for the conversation. Like, great, you made this. Let's kick it off by just discussing what you created.
Right. So it starts unmoderated and then it goes to moderated. And then,
hmm
yeah.
Well, moderated, but just unscripted.
Or unscripted. Yeah.
Yeah.
The reactions to it. Like I'm thinking about some experiences I've had where there was crying and that moved people in ways that they weren't, like the stakeholders, in ways that they weren't expecting and in ways that they appreciated. I wonder, editing Matthew will take this part out while
That's
I'm
okay.
thinking. Of course, now that I've said that, future me is going to leave it in to embarrass me. The where am I going with this? People who, yes, there we go. One of the things that I feel like I run into a lot is, we'll use your example of where do we put the button. That's often the least, I mean, it's not unimportant, but it's the least important thing. It's the least problematic aspect of their organization. Really getting them to start thinking in terms of, like, what are you doing and why are you doing it? We can talk about the how later. until we understand those bits, like, you're really guessing, and guessing is just not like it works sometimes and it's cheap, so I get the allure. Uh, but I guess has been your experience with those? I'll be generic and say those aha moments that really like just stopped them in their tracks and made them go, oh, this is important.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you brought up a good point about tears, right? Because that can happen. Some things are emotionally triggering. You could be talking about someone's daily commute, and all of a sudden they see a picture of something that makes them think of their mother that just passed away, or something. Who knows? And that can happen. And of course, tears and strong reactions, you learn a lot from them if they're related to what you're trying to learn, but it's never the goal, right? We don't want
Yeah.
to cause any kind
No.
of trauma or anything like that. Uh, but I find with these techniques, much more so than any kind of one on one interview with predefined questions, it will often go there and get to that deeper sensitive reaction. And stakeholders, if we're picking out images, let's say, and doing some image association, and someone picks out something dark and mysterious, like we were doing a app for gift giving for Indigo, which is a company in Canada. It's like the premier bookseller in Canada. And they wanted to make gift giving easier. So they had an app for that. And they were talking to people about what it's like to give gifts. And it's, something that's not that deep, really. But for some people, it's a major source of stress and anxiety. It's like, oh, I'm tasked with figuring out something unique and new, not a repeat. I hate gift giving. It stresses me out completely. And they're picking out these images of like dark forests. And it's like I'm lost and I don't know where to start or where to go. It's like, whoa, that hits home. That
Mhm.
definitely builds that empathy, right? That we're trying to with the team to understand. It's like, this is why we're building this. This is the problem we're trying to solve. This is how they feel. And that hits home way more than me just being like, yeah, people are stressed out. It's like seeing it, feeling it in those pictures and in their own words really helps. But on that line of, I guess psychological safety, right? If somebody is getting emotional during an interview, I I always say if you're going to use these projective techniques, you have to understand and anticipate trauma. It can happen because again, anything can trigger it. Um, so you need to know, you need to kind of arm yourself with what you're going to do if that should happen and not just find yourself in that moment and be like, hey, I don't know what to do.
Right.
Sometimes if it's heavy stuff, actually building into the project a social worker, having them temporarily join the team and kind of co-lead the interviews with you. So if something should happen, you can have someone that can take over. That's for very heavy topics, not your typical product research sessions. But I think it goes a long way just being transparent and upfront about what topics you will and you will not be covering to put them at ease.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Um, and asking for consent continually. Sometimes we think, we've done our job, we've checked off our list, like, yep, we've asked for
Yeah, they signed the
consent.
form. Yeah.
hmm
Yeah.
but then
We're
you
good.
see them getting uncomfortable and perhaps emotional during the interview. You've got to check in throughout and just make sure, are you really okay? Are you comfortable continuing? Because we can stop, and making sure they know that that's always an option. And having that contingency plan if they are triggered and they do want to stop, and having some resources ready for them if they do need to talk to someone afterwards, that can go a real long way.
Yeah. Yeah. It's the stopping. I suspect that researchers don't use that often enough. Like, it's okay to stop. You can sync up with that person at a later date. You can find another participant. It's okay to stop. Yeah, it's the crying one was doing some research around some chronic pain issues.
Yeah.
I don't know if this is truly particular to healthcare, I was about to say, particularly in healthcare. But in my experience with healthcare projects, people will, like, they're not there for the money. They're there because they want to help make this system better for their future selves or the people who are coming after them. Like that, I've found to be the primary motivation.
So true.
Even though I don't think that they don't necessarily always articulate it that way, but I think, I mean, I know for sure there are some things I should have stopped, but they were like, no, 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 let's keep going. Let's keep going. Ultimately, I try and go on the side of believing them when they're telling me and letting them be in charge. But yeah, because they want to help, right? And it isn't just about the whatever check that they're going to get at the end of it. But I think you're right. Like really having a plan from the start of how you're going to support these people beyond giving them their check,
Yeah. Yeah.
especially for these more sensitive topic areas.
Yeah, I've totally triggered you for an hour. Here's your check. Have a good
Yeah,
day.
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
that's terrible.
Would you
Yeah.
like to be a participant in the future?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. The other thing I thought of while you were saying that is I don't know if anyone would literally articulate it this way, but I think a lot of product companies think that all of their users are highly emotionally regulated all the time while they're using the product and have all the time in the world, are not interrupted by anything, and care as much about the product as they do, which sometimes I've seen that. Well, the caring part. I mean, if anybody's emotionally regulated all the time, I'd like to subscribe to your YouTube channel. But I think for me, that's often been one of those really great moments, especially for stakeholders that are open to being, I would put it this way, like being open to being changed by what you discover in the world. Because I think I've run into plenty of stakeholders who are usually in that C-suite who really seem to be keen on maintaining the status quo and therefore aren't as open to being changed by research. But when you get those stakeholders who are like gut punched by what they find out through this process, to me, I kind of goes back to my question I asked you earlier about like the value. Like to me, that is value. I'm not
Hmm.
talking about business value or let me demonstrate my value for my seat at the table kind of value, but like the true value of the impact that you're having, both for the people that you're working with, the people who are your participants, and then last in the list, this is an ordered list, for the product or the service
Yeah.
to hopefully improve it. But yeah,
The value, and you don't normally, everybody wants to use research, rightfully so, to hopefully build better products. But that idea behind we're also trying to understand deeply the problem, like get deep into that problem
yeah,
space in order to empathize with the people we're building the products for. And often it's just lost. It's like this foundational research, sadly, isn't valued, I feel, as much as it used to be. This idea of just better learning the user's world in order to design for it. I see it just not, everybody's moving so fast. And it's like, let's just figure out where to put the button. And that's a shame. But you mentioned uh, chronic pain study, and I had this similar experience. So it was it was very early years for me. So 20 years ago, I was in my mid 20s, and I had to do a chronic pain study, and I sat in a room for 3 days with people who just suffered with chronic pain, and I didn't even know that was a thing at the time, stupidly. And
No,
just
not
what
stupidly. You discover things when you discover them. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
thank you.
So
Yeah.
go ahead.
And I couldn't get over it. It's just, people, and I think you're absolutely right. They weren't in it for the money at all. A lot of them were disabled to some degree, had trouble walking, and to sit down and talk with them about their pain and to learn that they have two choices, because this was for a drug company, right? Be on the drug and not really be a human. Like, they're just zoned out. They're totally, they're
Yeah.
drugged, or be in pain. And I was like, damn, that sucks. And that's their life. Um, and that's powerful. And it was really important, but I'm just a researcher, one person talking to these participants. And then I have to go report back, because very rarely do you get the people observing who really need to be, right? And I have to relay that in some way, some shape or form, like what I felt, what hit home for me, and get it to hit home for them. And that's really hard. It's so hard. I think our jobs are just really hard. We have to get that story. That's difficult in and of itself. And then we have to relay it in a way that gets them to act, that gets them motivated to make the right decisions for the right reasons. But then carefully balance it with business objectives. It's like, it'll be good for the business too, right? Like, it's not just about the user, because we know that that's not all that they care about. And it's a tough juggling act.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You just said something there that I've been really thinking a lot about lately is getting them to act, getting them, I don't think you said this word, but like getting them to care. And I think, particularly around getting them to act, this is a feeling statement, and it's something that I'm looking into. But so, I will be open to being changed by what I discover. But until then, I feel like in order for research, big R research, to get a seat at the table, be taken more seriously, whatever, a level of small a academic rigor has been applied to the profession, to the activities, in order to be to deliver, quote unquote, the truth within the context of the study. And I think that has led a lot of people who do research to be these neutral arbiters of what happened. So I'm reporting. This is my report. This is what I found out. Here are some suggestions. Good luck, everybody. And I feel like it's not everybody, obviously, but I feel like that has been a professional disservice to, within the context of business, not academia, to the customers, internal and external. I really feel like we need to take a stand on these things. Take into consideration what the business objectives are, obviously. Take into consideration what the motivations, behaviors, constraints, etc. of the users are. But at the end of it, lead people to the path that they need to go down. And I want to see that more often from
Mhm.
people.
Yeah.
Sorry, soapbox over
No, needed.
for
I
now. Yeah.
I I agree. I agree completely. It's just something's getting lost right now, and I think it's just we're moving too fast. That time for research is getting harder and harder. Um, and even just having actual researchers do the research, right?
Mm-hmm.
So often now it's people who do research. It's product managers also putting on the research hat, designers also putting on the research hat, which is fine. It can be okay to a
Hmm.
degree, but that's not their that's not their bread and butter. It's not what they have passion about. It's not what they want to do. They're overloaded to begin with. So we know shortcuts
Yeah.
are being taken. We know that the rigor is not there. And, I think I can understand that sometimes we can't go as in depth and spend as much time as we need to. We know in this industry that we have very small budgets, we have very short timelines, and you don't have to watch 20 people fail at a task to know it's an issue, right? Evaluative. We know we can
Yeah.
move quickly. We know
Yeah.
the value in that. But that foundational, just getting them to take that sprint zero step, like
Hmm.
let's just really understand what we're doing before it's just guns blazing. We're moving. I always say we're moving with scissors. And that's difficult. It's difficult to get people to really, I think, appreciate what we can do in that environment.
Yeah. I do think there are times and contexts in which let's run a little bit, see, human speech, a little bit loose with our approach. I find that that can be helpful when it really is more of in a discovery mode where we're sort of not testing, but testing the waters of the context within which we're trying to do some research, and the result or the output of that will be a better understanding of what research needs to happen, not here's a UI spec, go nuts,
Right.
kids. But yeah, my soapboxing earlier, I'm not trying to get rid of the rigor at all. Just I want a bit more take a stand. But yeah, I don't know, speaking of the D word, democratization. I think because of how I started, where we had to do both research and design, and that was the job. Um, and we partnered with business analysts and project managers. We didn't really have we had product owners, but there wasn't like a product manager the way we have it now. Like it was really a group effort to get this stuff done. Even splitting up so that we could run in parallel on things. But there was always somebody who was well versed in research practices, setting up the study, leading the analysis, all that stuff. But we did distribute the workload for sure. And so when I look at what I see as fear of democratization and fear of, oh, they're taking our jobs away from us, like I I still want researchers to be in the mix, but I don't want us gatekeeping as much. And I know for sure, not that they watch the show, that there are some people who are like, absolutely not. They should have no contact with research, no contact with customers. It doesn't represent reality unless you, as the researcher, control the budget.
Mm,
If you do, great. And please hire me. But that's it. It's pretty rare that that happens.
yeah.
So,
I have I have so many feelings about that. I agree that we shouldn't gatekeep, and I love it when a designer, a product manager, someone is really jazzed about research and
yeah.
they wanna go firsthand, collect some data. Awesome. I love it. It's great. What I don't love and what I'm seeing is oftentimes they're busy. They've got way too much on their plate already, and then budgets are slashed, and, "Oh, by the way, we don't have money for a researcher. We don't have, we don't have the head count. You're gonna have to take that on now." And it's like, ugh, then it's a slog for them. They're not passionate about it, and I think whatever anybody's doing, whatever domain they're working in, they've gotta love it, they've gotta have a passion for it to really do it justice, whether it's design, coding, whatever. That's just how I feel. Now there are people who have a jack of all trades, they have passion for many things, and they can do many things. I think that's great, and if you have that on your team, utilize it. Give them the work that they do. But I do a lot of training. I really love teaching, and I love when people are jazzed about research, they wanna learn more about it. I love running workshops. And what I've found, I've had clients bring me in, it's like, we don't have money to either bring you in or to hire more researchers, but if you could, skill up our design team, our product managers so that they can do the research, that would be great. And I can't tell you those workshops are so different. The participants, it's just like, oh, they don't want to be there.
Yeah.
And if you're teaching
Yeah.
somebody who has been voluntold to do something is very different. When I pause for, "Hey, does anybody have any questions or anything?" It's like crickets. They're just waiting to be released. They're not, they're multitasking. They're reading their email. But people who are just like so eager to learn this craft that want to be great researchers, they could geek out on research all day long, and they're asking great questions and we're having good discussions. But it's just, I find that the training sessions that it says a lot to me about
Mhm.
what can sometimes happen if you are democratizing and you don't really have people who have the bandwidth to really do it or the passion to do it.
My guess is that if we could solve the bandwidth issue, the passion might come into play a bit more. But I also think, and I will probably to the end of my career, which is going to be in about 15 minutes here, is I will dunk on product management all day long. But always in the back of my mind, I understand that a lot of people in product management got promoted into it, accidentally fell into it. And there's a lot of stuff online where you can learn how to be a product manager. But do you have time to do all that stuff? And does your company actually support you in doing those things? And I think that that's like for all roles, but particularly the ones that they have a primary thing that they're supposed to be doing, and then we're dumping research on them as well. Like they already don't get support for their primary job,
Mm.
and they've got to
Yeah.
do something else. Like that's not democracy. That's not useful, right?
Hmm.
And I think that again, because we got to move fast and win, whatever that means. I mean, I know it means more profit, whatever, but I want product management involved with research. I want designers involved with research. I want engineers involved with research. If they have time, if they have interest, but I also want the organization to allow for the time and engender the interest and allow for these opportunities for people to. I'm not asking you to become a researcher, but I know you're talking to customers on a regular basis, and I want you to stop asking dumb questions
Yeah. Yes.
that lead to
Yes.
the answer that you're hoping for.
Right. Yep. The level of
See
bias.
that was
Yeah.
there it goes. There's my dunk on product management. There we go.
And
Got there.
doesn't it scare you too that all that can be true, the bias and everything, and then also they're just working with unrealistic timeframes. Everything's go, go, go. And it's great when the organization is like, we want research, but we want it lightning fast at this unrealistic time frame. And you can't even sit there and really marinate in the data and absorb it and really think about it and analyze it properly. Now, I think people who do research, non-researchers who do research, reaching for these tools, a lot of AI tools that can just synthesize things very quickly for you. And oftentimes, we all know that a lot of times it's hallucinated and not accurate. And I hate that what I'm seeing a lot of is good enough. check the box. Yep, we did research. We did some quick, AI analysis on it. And everybody's just running so fast that they're pleased because they don't even know what they're missing. They don't even realize, and that's scary. That's scary. I give talks on using AI for UX research. There are great things out there to help us, but I'm scared when these tools are used improperly or when there's that rush to just get it done. There's a lot of shortcuts that could be taken that are just not
Right.
good.
The first answer is fine. Because, I mean, I'm saying that sarcastically. Like, whatever the AI comes with, the first answer is fine. Let's go
Right.
with that.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter that maybe my prompt was not as elegant as it could have been, or adroit, or contextually interesting. Yeah. Well, let's not talk about AI.
Yeah. We could go
Yeah.
on and on about that.
Enough of that guy. All right. Well, let's switch gears.
Mhm.
And it's time for 7 plus or minus 2 questions.
Okay.
Are you ready?
Sure.
Okay. So this is new, mostly new set of questions. So you're the first.
Okay.
And feel free to be like, Matthew, that's a dumb question. There's no guardrails on any of this. Whatever comes to mind is the right answer. Professional, personal, doesn't matter. And you don't have to answer the question.
Okay.
All right. So here we go. Question 1. Who did you help recently and how did it make you feel?
Gosh. Jessica Ivins, wonderful colleague who I've known for over 20 years. I wanted to bounce off some research ideas. She is a lone researcher in her internal job right now. And I love her brain. I love talking to her. So I will always be there for her. So we had a great chat the other day.
Cool.
Mm.
Next question. What's your least favorite thing about your profession?
Right now, I can tell you as a UX consultant, as a research consultant, I am so pissed off. Our rates are getting slashed. What we could charge, we can't even get what we were making 5 years ago.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable. So I talk a lot with UX consultants about this, other ones. We're all feeling the pain. It's hard to not only get the work, but to get paid properly for the work. I'm seeing a lot of craziness with like $50 an hour for people who are 25 years in their career, seasoned veterans. Like, no. So that's really frustrating right now.
Yeah. $50 an hour is incentive for me to take a really long time.
Right?
Whereas
Seriously, way long.
I could be like, yeah, this is like a 4-hour project. Oh, I meant 50-hour project. Yeah. All right. Question number 3. What is the most beautiful thing you've seen in the past week that has nothing to do with a screen?
Wow. Beautiful thing I've seen. Hmm.
Interpret as you will.
Yeah, it's like I'm reaching for, I'll be totally honest, I'm reaching for something with my kids. It's not there. Um, honestly, it's,
Kids
we just,
shreds.
yeah, we've had one
Yeah.
of our first like real snowfalls up here in New Hampshire, and it's just gorgeous. It's beautiful. And just, we were very lucky that our house abuts some conservation land, and we just have the woods in the back and just seeing everything covered, just gorgeous. Mm.
Okay, cool. Question number 4. What's a decision that you made that prioritized business goals over users, and how
Mm.
do you feel about it?
These are tough. I have to think. Let's see. Business schools over years.
And if this, I'm testing these questions out, and if this veers too much into NDA land,
Might.
that's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's hard. Recently had a project. I'm trying to think if I can. Yeah, I definitely won't share who it's for. Testing out some AI features, and it was very clear. I think. Well, it was a mixed bag of those that embraced it, those that didn't. But it was going to happen either way, right? It was going to be incorporated into
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah.
don't even understand really, like, I think they were just trying to assess how badly the the triaging would have to be, because they were going to move ahead
Mm,
with it either way. Didn't matter what the research really said.
right.
No.
Yeah. Classic. Yeah. That to me is in a very similar category as we test everything. Everything. Like,
Yeah.
but why? Oh, because it's in our OKRs. Like, but why? Like, I mean, you want to give me money, okay, but you don't need to test this.
Mm.
Like, this change is, it's fine. Oh, but we gotta. So it's more interesting things out there, people. Again, soapbox. All right. Penultimate question. Who should I talk with next?
Oh gosh, that's hard. There's so many. Um, you were talking before about business needs, and we grapple with that business needs. Erica Hall is talking so much great stuff. Not sure if she's already been on your show or not, but I think she is speaking what we all need to hear about understanding the needs of the business and how to balance that with user research. I just love everything she has to say. That would be my vote.
Okay, cool. All right, last question. Ready?
Mhm.
So imagine that it's a year from now. What do you hope to not be carrying anymore?
Wow. Um, I'll be dead honest with you. So my husband is a UX designer, so we're a UX household, which probably isn't smart. At one time, that was great. I wish we were a little more diversified because everybody's going through layoffs. My husband's now going through a layoff, trying to find work, and I hope we're both not carrying that into the next year. This time next year, I hope we're in a much better place. It's hard now. It's a hard time, and we're both feeling it. Just it's wild times. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Huh? Yeah, I was talking with somebody recently who's in UX, but at that higher level where they're so busy with their stuff, they aren't really looking at what's going on out in the outside world.
Mm,
And I said, it's really tough.
yeah.
And they were like, why? And I said, well, one of the one of the reasons that I'm seeing is so many people who actually know what they're doing have been laid off over the past 4 years that the market is flooded with very capable people. Whereas 5, 6 years ago, if you got laid off, it'd be pretty easy to stand out in the market because you were competing 99%, no offense, with General Assembly graduates who just came out and they all have the same project that they did. So their portfolios all look the same. And so it was very easy to stand out back then. And now it's, I don't get the gig, but I am very positive it goes to somebody who really does know what they're doing. And that's just on top of all the other reasons it's been hard. But so it's good that people are getting some of these jobs, but it really gets exhausting
Yes.
when you're not the one finding the work, which has been the past 20 months for me.
Oh, I'm so sorry. And I wonder if we're talking a lot about this, like, is it ageism? Is it, or is it just straight up
Yeah,
competition, or is it a
I'm
mixture?
not old. I'm not old. Yeah,
It's
yeah,
crazy. Yeah. And it's so frustrating. It really
yeah,
is. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, one of the questions that I get often is like, even when I'm looking for project work, looking for internal work, just work, please. But
Mhm.
like a couple of principal staff IC positions where I've been a director before, and people are like, "Oh, do you really want to step down?" And I think that that's like, there's so much investment in hierarchy and in moving up in your career that it's like, it's never been something that's really that I've been interested in beyond the ability to have an impact broader, more broadly across an organization. But yeah, so I think it's like they see somebody with my career looking for an IC role and they're like, oh, we can't pay him enough, or he
Right.
won't do what we tell him to do. Because I think a lot of the IC roles, companies really look for the person inhabiting that role to produce what they're told to produce.
Yeah.
And I suspect people who have been around for a while don't like to do that because they have seen it before and they know there are better ways of working. So yeah, so I think it's not like, hey, you old, you're out.
Hmm.
But I think ultimately that is what it is for a lot of people. So yay.
I know.
Here's a lesson, kids. You'll be over 50 someday, probably.
Right.
Plan accordingly.
Right.
Yeah. Diversify your household is what I'm
Yeah.
hearing from you.
Seriously.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway. All right. Well, let's stop talking.